If you're on social media and you dabble in any way in the business and or the real estate world, you will probably see that most, if not all, successful agents and business owners and just people that make a lot of money in general own real estate. Whether that's commercial buildings, multiplexes, or just single family homes, most successful people have real estate. Now, what they all have in common though is that they all started with one rental. It's easy to see the final product with these successful people and think it's too far out of reach for me. But the first step is just getting into that first rental. Hey guys, my name is Joe Skipper and I'm the owner of Skipper Realty Group, brokered by eXp Realty out of Oregon. And today we're going to show you how to buy your first rental property. Now I'm going to make it easy and take you through the step-by-step process of what it takes to get your first rental. Now once you have this information down, you can go out and start doing the research into what property will be best for you and your goals. And before we get started, hit that like button and subscribe to my page so that you can stay up to date with the latest on the housing market and tips and tricks like this in the real estate world. This page will help you not only as a buyer and a seller on a personal level, but also as an investor as well. The first thing you need to do before going into an investment is have a down payment ready to go. Now the down payment is the cash that you need to have on hand to throw down on the purchase of a property. Now for an investment, this down payment could be anywhere between 15 to 20% down or more. And what this means simply is that for a home worth $500,000, you'll have to have a down payment in the range of $75,000 to $100,000. Now for most of us, that's quite a bit of cash. So you may need to save up for a bit in order to do that. Another option that would be less of a down payment if you already own a home is to use your current home as the rental and buy a primary residence for you to live in. You can get into a primary residence for as little as 3%, so you can lower your cash on hand by a lot if you went that route. Now the next thing you need to do is to make sure that your credit score is good. Now, most lenders will give you better rates at a score of 740 or above. Now, if you're lower than this, they see you as a riskier buyer and you won't get the best rates that are out there. My suggestion is to build your credit score before going into an investment like this. Now, there are a ton of YouTube videos out there on how to build your credit score, but generally speaking, you want a few lines of credit that are getting paid on time, no late payments, and a record of that. Now, it may take some time to build your credits, so get started on this right away if you need that help. The next step is to get all of your tax documents and employment stuff together. Most lenders are going to ask you for the past 2 years of your tax returns. So have all that stuff ready to go, and they're going to take the average of those tax returns. So if you don't make a ton on the first year and then you make a lot on the second, they're going to average it out. So be aware of that. They're also going to want anywhere between 2 months and 6 months of pay stubs, proof of employment, and proof of income. So get all of those documents together and ready to give to the lender. Now, a side note, if you're self-employed, this may get a little tricky. We normally like to write off as much as we can so that we don't pay a lot in taxes, but what this does is shows on your taxes that you don't make a lot of money. It's great for taxes, but not for buying a home. So generally speaking, you want to hold off on writing things off for taxes as you approach the time that you're starting to look at buying a property. The next step is to talk to a lender. Give them all of that paperwork we talked about, your taxes, your pay stubs, and all the stuff you accrued, but tell them not to run your credit. Now, if you know your score, just tell them that credit score and let them run with that. Now, the obvious purpose of speaking with a lender is that they're going to run all your information and determine what you can actually afford in a property. Now, there's no point searching around for a home and finding that perfect one and then also finding out that you can't afford it. So being with a lender early on is going to get you started off right, and it's not going to waste your time. Also, if they already have your stuff in hand when the time comes to make an offer, you're going to be ready to go right away and not have to stress about getting all those documents together and get it to the lender and waiting for that before you get to write the offer. Now, especially in a busy market, this saves a ton of time and it could win or lose you an offer. The next step is to find the property. Now, what type of property do you look for? Now, I say as an investor and talking with tons of investors, I find that the duplex to fourplex is a great first rental property. Generally speaking, and again, I say this generally, is that having multiple doors under one roof has the opportunity to generate more monthly cash flow than, say, a single family home. Now, what your goal is will determine what type of place that you look for, but generally speaking, those are some good cash flowing property types. Now, watch out for places with HOAs or other restrictions, as those are regulated by the neighborhood and the rental rules could prevent you from renting it once you buy. There are places that have HOAs that allow it, but something to be careful of when you're looking. Now, speaking of looking, you have to get out and look at them. The more you look at properties, the more you're going to get to know what the better deal is. Now, this doesn't just go for rental properties, but it goes for buying in general. But I always advise my clients to go see a lot of homes. You'll start to see after 15 or 20 homes which ones are overpriced, which updates are good or bad, and which homes are the good deals. Shopping around is critical to see this. Now, if where you live is super pricey and your lender says you can't afford anything around there, think about out of town or out of state properties. Now, with technology now, you can find properties in other states and get great deals on homes without actually having to live next door. In this case, it's critical to have a team with you in that area that knows what they're doing. Now, if you have that in place, investing in out-of-state properties can be really profitable. The next step is to find a property that actually cash flows. Now, there are a million different companies and websites out there that give you simple calculators on whether a property is going to be valuable to you or not. There are basic mortgage calculators that you can just Google and put in your property's info. You can go to websites like BiggerPockets that they focus on investment properties and helping investors to get into those properties. There are cap rate calculators that can show you what your cap rate's going to be with the home that you like. Basically, what I'm trying to say is that there are free resources everywhere to give you a general calculation on what the property is going to bring you for the value. My ultimate advice is to make sure that the property is going to, at the very least, break even once you calculate the mortgage, the vacancy rates, the capital expenditures, and all of your monthly payments. You want the property to cover at least all of your expenses. To help you with this and getting the best return on your investment, you may want to look at older properties or properties that need some work. This can get you into a home for not only a cheaper price overall, but if you have some funds to fix it before you rent it, you can gain a ton of equity in it right away. And we'll do another video on using that equity to purchase another one in the future. But building equity in the property, it just opens up so many doors to other investments or uses for that money that you've earned in the property. Now, once you found the property and the location, you need to make the offer. Your agent should be able to help you to make the best offer on the property based on not only your goals, but on what the property type is, how long it's been on the market, the motivation of the seller, and just your agent's skills in general. Make sure that you make that offer that's going to fit in all of your finances and the down payment and the monthly expenses that you're wanting to pay. Once you're under contract with the property, the next step is the inspection process. Have a professional look at the property inside and out in order to find everything that this home has going for it and what it doesn't. Now, this is an area as well that you can renegotiate the price or concessions on the home based on how the inspection went. It's not only a great opportunity to find out what is wrong with the home and things that you need to address either before closing or after, but it could get you into the home for less money or having the seller fix some, if not all of the items, so that you don't have to spend the cash in order to do it once the sale closes. It's an important part of the process, so please don't overlook that part. After close, the next step is to do any renovations to the property that need to get done. Investors will give you a different story for how they do this, and some like to go the cheap route to fix up the properties because they may invest in areas where there's a lot of turnover and damage done to the home, like college towns, for example, or their renter price range is lower, which tends to bring in a renter that doesn't care for the property as much. Some like to go really high end and are renting out units or properties that are Airbnbs or are in higher income neighborhoods. Now, depending on where you purchased, and no matter where you purchased, my personal suggestion is to do the job right. You get what you pay for in a lot of things, and renovations are no different. Now, it may seem nice to save $500 on flooring, but if you have to replace it every year because it's so bad, then it may have been smarter to pay a little more upfront than to deal with the hassle of this yearly project now. So do it right the first time and you'll see better results and better use of your money. And the last step is to rent it out. Now, this is where you need to determine if you're going to rent it out yourself or you're going to use a property manager. Now, most property managers charge between 8 to 10% a month for them to run your property. Factor that into all your expenses if you're going to use one. But they generally will do everything for you if you go with them. They market it, they find the right tenant, they qualify them, they get them into the home, they take the payments, they check on the property, they work with evictions and late payments and any repairs that need to be addressed. For us as landlords, we chose to do a property manager because the time that they save is way worth it. Now, some people want to be involved in the nitty-gritty in their property, and it doesn't make financial sense to have a property manager, and that's totally okay. Just be prepared to do the work when the time comes. Now, depending on your state and your city, the rules that are required of landlords can be strict. If your renter needs something fixed, you may need to get there and get it addressed. Now, if you work full-time or you have non-flexible hours, this may not make sense and cause way more stress than it's actually worth. Make sure you have a good grasp on what route you're going to take before you get to renting. Okay, so this video should have given you the steps you need to get into your first rental property and make it cash flow for you right away. Now, these tips also generally work for any home that you buy, so this can help you just to buy a home in general. but buying a rental property can put you on a fast track to wealth and leverage your assets to build more wealth. All these wealthy people didn't get there right away. They used similar tactics in this video to get into their first property, and then the next, and then the next, and then the next. If you have any other questions regarding investing in real estate and you want to talk to me more about it, don't hesitate to call me and we can chat about your particular scenario. Thank you guys, and if you want to stay up to date on the tips and tricks of real estate to help you become a better investor, please like and subscribe to this page. Thanks guys.